Hello and welcome back again to RageGamingVideos and more Baldurs Gate 3. We have more things centered around the patch 7, useful or interesting topics or just weird stuff. And as I've made a couple of these over the last couple of weeks with the patch, I've actually got a follow-up to start with this video. So let's just get into it. And that is this, the nautiloid ship and blocking the doorway. In my last video in this series, basically I talked about a couple of things in the nautiloid ship that no longer work. Little tricks you could use in honor mode to make that situation easier. And while one trick definitely is gone, the old trick to range the cambions from max distance, it turns out that the blocking of the door is still a feature, and people, myself included, misunderstood what was happening. Basically, if you block the door with the chests and whatever setup you choose to do to block the commander room door, and then proceed to stay too close to the door, the cambions that spawn in behind you, they can actually fly to you and your location. If you make sure you're beyond that distance, something roughly beyond, say, when the mind flayer is having its fight with the commander, you're actually too far out of range for them to fly to. So whatever you're using to block the door, it actually works. And it doesn't need to be complicated, it doesn't need to be loads of stuff. I've done it in a bunch of ways now, and basically, you just need two chests stacked on top of each other. And if you want to be extra safe, you can put that smaller chest like I did to block the door. And then all you need to do when you place this down in somewhere in that hallway and somewhere in that entrance is just make sure that you cannot pass by it. Like, try to walk past it, and if it says you can't pass, well then you're good to go. Ideally though, I would block this entryway as far away from the commander fight as possible, so that they're further away from you while you're in there, you know, to prevent them flying to you. A lot of people were talking about different changes they made in patch 7, and the nautiloid ship came up quite a few times. A lot of people were convinced, based on their own testing, that the cambions can now just fly over this blockage, but it seems like just a misunderstanding about the distances of the flight and being near them. So a little PSA for you, you can still block the door, prevent the cambions from coming in, and deal with the commander solo, like so. And yeah, I just wanted to give a little update on that because I definitely gave the wrong info last time, so I apologize for that. So people know you can still use this. Next up, how about an update with everyone's favorite bard companion that's totally our real companion and she's definitely an origin character? Alfira. Basically, if you don't know, Larian have made this little update that's kind of subtle. Basically, what they've done is they've allowed her to join your party and be a playable companion temporarily. So temporarily that, you know, what happens on that night when she comes to camp always happens. You can't really escape it unless you replace her with, you know, a different character, as we've talked about. So a cool fact of this is if you've got a spare spot in your party when she shows up, she'll join as a party member temporarily, and then that allows you to mess with her, you know, respec her, change her from a bard into something else, level her up, look at her inventory, whatever, all this stuff. But it's obviously temporary. The thing is, by introducing this mechanic to the game, Larian are very subtly just allowing modders to, put her in the game. Let her be a permanent companion. But the new thing here, and the thing I want to talk about, is the fact that there's a legitimate quote-unquote way to get her to join the party permanently for the playthrough. Obviously, she doesn't have unique lines. She's not like an origin character that they've done all this voice acting and work for. She isn't meant to be in the party for Act 2 and Act 3, but she can be as just kind of a Tav-style companion. Now, to do it, it's obviously a glitch, and so we're kind of expecting them to hotfix this at some point. So don't expect to be able to do this forever. And the downside is that you're going to need to kill your dark urge. You'll need to first trigger the cutscene where Alfira actually shows up the first time by trying to enter the mountain pass in Act 1. She'll just show up to the camp. This interrupts your loading into the mountain pass. Next, you kill the dark urge, and then you just put his body into Alfira's bags. The moment that she actually picks up the dark urge and puts the body in the bag, you'll continue loading into the mountain pass and just arrive there, with her in the party. So the big downsides here are the fact that Dark Urge has to die somewhat permanently to replace this character, but it is possible. To make this more possible, then it's a good idea to send everything of your inventory into the chest in the camp, and you may need strength increases like Hill Giant Strength Elixir to actually be able to function with this body in the inventory. But it obviously works and is obviously a glitch. As people are discussing online, it is causing different issues. Some people have just had her suddenly die at certain stages during Act 2. So not intended, clearly a glitch. I think if you want her in the party properly, we're going to need a mod for that. And you know, it probably already exists. Next up, we have one to do with the main menu of the game and a kind of weird glitch that's been introduced in patch 7. Your usual main menu screen is this beautiful view of Baldurs Gate, the city itself. The background's really cool, but when we click, we have this cool animation where we go down and down and down. We'll come down here in our own playthroughs to deal with Oren in good time. But that's the main menu. That's what we're supposed to see. But for some reason, a really common bug that's going on right now is this. Instead of getting the normal main menu, people are getting this completely different one. Starting in a cave, and we're looking over at this sort of beach with a bow, and then the camera continues to move, much like it does on our current main menu, going down and down and down under the earth to, yeah, a different waypoint. I wonder if this is like leading to the Underdark, or this is just a cave. But why are players seeing this? Did they just introduce a totally new main menu to maybe be available sometimes? Not exactly. It's my understanding that people are experiencing this bug based on the modding they're doing to the game, and obviously a lot of people are doing that right now. For some reason, certain mods are messing with the main menu and causing this one to trigger instead of the actual one. Because this one isn't new. This is the early access main menu screen that they had before the launch of the game. It's quite nice. There's a lot of like ambience to it. Technically, you could view this main menu as like the Act 1 background, and then the actual one we have as the Act 3 background. Quite a while back, I took a look at the main menu here because you can no-clip and people are having a look what's really going on. And you can see how the camera is just on this hill with a random statue. There's nothing here, and then it just goes down into this cave to take you to the temple. The actual city itself is basically just, well, not necessarily 2D, but very flat and untextured, and there's a lot of camera angle trickery going on. Really, all we need now is one for Act 2 randomly. But yes, if you're experiencing this bug, it may be due to the modding that you're doing, and this is indeed the old sort of menu cinematic that plays during the early access. Next up for the topics then, I want to talk more about the modding that's going on, and specifically the custom map toolkit stuff. Last time we highlighted the fact that some pretty incredible progression has happened with the modding community about a week after the launch of the toolkit, where it was essentially cracked. Here we were taking a look at what people were doing, and we saw some incredible stuff with, say, Avernus, the very realm that we start the game in and then teleport out of on the nautiloid. This kind of stuff has progressed. It's the same YouTube channel that we looked at last time, just continuously working on it and posting more videos. This is apparently the work in progress version 4. And as you can see, they've got characters fully functional running around and adding a lot of detail and depth to it. Shading, lighting, clear barriers where you can't progress. It's looking a lot more fleshed out and like an actual place to explore. Sure, still rough around the edges, but pretty incredible, to the point where when you hold Alt, you can see things around you, items to interact with in logical places. Actually looking really decent. And this is by the same person to my understanding. Their YouTube channel, as I've shown, is just called S, which makes it hard for me to really explain who they are, but I do believe that the person posting this is also Katzenberger on the Reddit. You can find them posting about it as often a top poster on the Baldurs Gate 3 modding Reddit, which I recommend, by the way, in general, if you want to check out information on mods, discussing advice about specific bugs and so on, or just follow, more awesome custom map progress as it goes. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where a full level is going to be designed and we're going to get to play it. And that's where I would look out for that kind of information. In any case, more progression has happened with this. A modder by the name of Lotrich, or Lotrich, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. They posted on the same Reddit an underdark custom map because that toolkit has now been unlocked as well. My outside perspective on this is that it essentially is the features and assets used in the Underdark can now be also used to create more custom maps. So the access for modding tools to create levels and that kind of thing, and ultimately hopefully make full levels or campaigns one day, it's expanding what's available and what the modders can actually use. Here we can expand on the Underdark concept with everything used down in the Underdark. So obviously people get pretty excited and jump like 10,000 steps forward, but the top comments are talking about a place called Menzoberranzan, which is known as the City of Spiders. Located in the upper North Dark, is basically a massive drow city. And so people are thinking like, oh, what could you use Underdark assets to create if you were to go crazy? And that's like the big city that people are jumping on and hoping for. I mean, the very fact that we've already got like a look at like a themed map for something as massive as the Avernus kind of realm, there's a lot possible, but time is needed. But what's already being done so far is very impressive. As we see with Lotrich already having like a playable state of this unique Underdark custom map. So I think it's all very exciting and I want to keep drawing your eyes to it. But just be aware, as another detail, that if you get into this stuff and you do modding, lots of weird stuff can happen. There's a pretty popular funny mod that just makes the companions small, basically making them all halflings. And there's some bugs with that, as you can see. It looks like his head is loaded in slightly forward of the torso. Or for the player, just parts of the body just not loading in. Fortunately, this kind of stuff is small issues, but if you do have big problems, I do think discussing it and looking for help on the Baldurs Gate 3 mod Reddit, as I've been saying, is the place to look. Speaking of bugs though, there's a lot of funny stuff going on. Obviously with all the modding people are doing, there's some really wacky stuff happening. For example, great name by the way, DongLover2020 posted on the Baldurs Gate 3 Reddit this little clip of trying to load into the game, but somehow it sort of failed, yet still loaded them in. The whole party doing this incredible dance while walking around. I think this is actually them infinitely climbing a non-existent ladder, yet moving around the terrain like normal. And then you have, say, the minimap, which is completely black and not loaded in at all, but you've got like icons of places you could enter. Then you've got the character image, kind of like out of center. And the whole environment they're in is like really low textured, strange popping in, and it's like the game is running but not running, and it's very confused. The kind of bugs that are just funny and relatively harmless are fun to look at to me. But obviously we're seeing a lot of this stuff right now because of all the modding and maybe over modding, too many mods at once going on kind of situation that we're in. As more time passes, there's going to be more and more ways that we're going to be able to manage this stuff. But yeah, the first few weeks it's always a mess. But it does make me wonder whether things are going to be a lot smoother or in time smoothed out for the inevitable console launch, which I believe is happening in a matter of weeks. Alright, so last up for our little Baldurs Gate 3 Patch 7 video, there's this topic that keeps coming up on the Reddit that I keep seeing over like the last week or so. And I've actually seen two very popular posts about it. People basically saying that they've been playing the game for hundreds or even 1,000 hours and they've never found this one specific chest where I'm standing right now. We're at the start of the Emerald Grove and I'm on the main path where, you know, we have that first interaction with Zevlor. And as you can see right here, we have this structure, which as we can see to our right, it's like ruins. And there is a chest. And apparently a lot of people are completely unaware of this quote-unquote secret chest. To the point where so many people have voted it up and talked about it in multiple posts recently, I figured I might as well mention it. But you can drop down from up here to reach it. Obviously something like slow fall or reducing fall damage would be a good idea, but it's not a big deal. But it is locked, so you will need to lock pick your way in, and its difficulty class is 15, so not exactly instant ease. In any case, when you do get into it, it's not like the most insane loot, which is why it's funny to me that so many people are talking about it. It's kind of like classic RNG loot in a chest. So in my case, I've got gold, I got some jewelry, and I got some random stuff for potential alchemy. But the post I've seen online has basically always been gold and maybe like green items or something like that, like usable consumables. So it's not particularly insane, but I don't know why, but I keep seeing people talk about this chest, so I figured people must just not know about it. So there you go, that's that chest. But there you have it, another set of things you might not have known about, all to do with the Patch 7. Useful, weird, or just interesting. If you guys have anything you'd like to add to the topics we talked about today, or maybe make a suggestion for another video, and let us know in the comments. We might just talk about it. For now then, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.